You know, when you think of Louis Armstrong, you've probably got that big, warm smile in your head, and maybe you can hear that gravelly voice singing What a Wonderful World. And that's great, but that's just the very end of a much, much bigger story. Louis Armstrong didn't just play music, he basically invented the music we listen to today. Seriously, and we're going to see exactly how. Hey, don't just take my word for it. That right there, that's from Bing Crosby, one of the biggest stars of the 20th century. He said that all the way back in 1950, and believe me, he was not exaggerating one bit. To really get why he said that, we have to go back and see where Armstrong came from and just how incredible his journey was. And this slide, wow, this really gets to the core of it all. On one side, you've got a newspaper clipping from 1913. It's about the arrest of a 12-year-old kid named Louis Armstrong for firing a gun. And on the other side, well, that's the man the whole world fell in love with, a global icon, just beaming. So the big question is, how on earth does one become the other? To answer that, we've got to go right back to the beginning, back to his childhood in New Orleans. And let me tell you, the world was pretty much stacked against him from day one. So he was born into some serious poverty, in a neighborhood so rough, they literally called it the battlefield. His dad took off when he was just a baby. By age 11, he dropped out of school to help make ends meet. Life was just plain hard. But, and this is so important, kindness found him. A local Jewish family, the Karnofskys, pretty much adopted him. They fed him, they looked after him, and they even helped him buy his very first cornet. Okay, so here's the crazy twist of fate. Remember that arrest we just saw? Well, that arrest landed him in a place called the Colored Waifs Home. And it was a tough place, run like a military camp. But it had a band. And in that band, with his first real teacher, a man named Peter Davis, Louis Armstrong didn't just learn to play. He got so good, so fast, that they made him the band leader. A terrible moment in his life turned into the most important one. Incredible. And this is where the story just explodes. Because once he was out, Armstrong didn't just join the music scene in New Orleans. He completely tore it down and rebuilt it from scratch, in his own image. So before Louis came along, jazz was all about what they called collective improvisation. The best way to think about it is like a big, loud party where everyone's talking at once. You've got the clarinet, the trombone, the cornet, all of them weaving their own melodies all at the same time. It's beautiful, it's messy, but there's no single star of the show. And then this happens. Louis steps out from that crowd. He steps into the spotlight and basically delivers a speech. He invents the modern solo as we know it, taking a song's basic chords and just launching into these incredible, dramatic, personal statements. For the very first time, one musician's voice, their story, became the heart of the song. It was a revolution. And you better believe the world noticed. And fast. Just look at this timeline of his rise. It's absolutely meteoric. In only 7 years, he goes from being a local kid in New Orleans to a star in Chicago. Then he's off to New York to play in the best black orchestra in the country. And then, boom, he's back in Chicago, leading his own band, the legendary Hot Five. And man, those Hot Five recordings, they weren't just hit songs. They were literally the blueprints for a whole new kind of music. An entire generation of musicians, black and white, would buy these records and sit there for hours, memorizing his solos note for note, trying to figure out how he did it. But just as he was changing the game for every instrument, Armstrong was about to accidentally start a whole other revolution. And this time, it was with his voice. This record right here is the one that did it. Heebie-Jeebies from 1926. And what happened during the recording session has become the absolute stuff of music legend. So the story as Louis always told it was he's in the middle of a take and he drops his sheet music with the lyrics on it. Instead of just stopping the recording, he just starts making up sounds, ba-da-doo-ba-doo-dop. That's scat singing. And while he may not have been the very first person to do it, Heebie-Jeebies became a massive hit and basically introduced scatting to the whole world. And really, his whole approach to singing just shattered all the rules. Traditional singers had these smooth, clear voices and they stuck right to the melody. Armstrong came in with this rich, gravelly voice and used it like it was another trumpet. He'd bend notes, he'd play with the rhythm, he'd phrase lyrics like a trumpet solo. This style, it influenced pretty much every single popular singer that came after him, from Bing Crosby all the way to Frank Sinatra. And his appeal just never went away. Get this. In 1964, at the absolute peak of Beatlemania, when the Beatles were completely dominating the world, A 62-year-old Louis Armstrong knocked them off the #1 spot on the charts with Hello, Dolly. It made him the oldest artist ever to have a #1 hit. How cool is that? So, that kind of popularity, that just crosses generations. It turned him into something more than just an entertainer. He became a true global figure, an ambassador for America, which, as you can imagine, brought its own set of challenges and complexities.
He was touring the world constantly, a lot of the time sponsored by the US State Department itself. He got the nickname Ambassador Satch. As one of the very first Black entertainers to get that kind of massive, mainstream crossover appeal, he became a symbol of America out on the world stage.
But let's be clear, Louis Armstrong was nobody's puppet. He often got criticized for not being more outspoken. But when he did decide to speak, his voice was like thunder. In 1957, during the Little Rock school crisis, he was disgusted with President Eisenhower's inaction, so he publicly canceled a government-sponsored tour and gave that fiery quote to a reporter. It was a shocking moment for the public, and it showed the powerful conviction hiding just beneath that joyful smile. So when we step back and look at it all, his legacy is it's mind-blowing. It really does stretch from the backstreets of New Orleans all the way out into the cosmos. I mean, when you just list it out, the scale of his impact is staggering. He created the template for the jazz solo. He changed how everyone sings. He broke down racial barriers in entertainment. His ideas were so fundamental that he was even inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as an early influence. Put it this way, popular music as we know it today simply would not exist without him. Just look at this trumpet. This was a gift from King George V of England back in 1933. It's really the perfect symbol for his whole life, isn't it? The kid from the battlefield who became a kind of global royalty himself, loved by everyone from kings to everyday people. But his journey didn't stop there. It's actually still going. Right now, as you and I are talking, the sound of his trumpet is traveling farther than any human has ever gone or probably ever will go. You see, his 1927 recording of Melancholy Blues was put on the Voyager Golden Record, that message in a bottle that humanity sent out to the stars. It was chosen to represent all of us. Which leaves me with one final question for you to chew on. If some alien civilization millions of years from now finds that record, what will Louis Armstrong's trumpet teach them about who we were?